Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Edna White, your host of Keeping It Real on Purpose. And we are so glad you're here today. Today, I have with me a guest, Daria Rosen, who's going to talk about the parts that we've been all discussing the whole time, which is a series, workplace trauma. And she's going to be sharing her story with us. And I'm going to let her introduce herself so you can get to know her. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. My name is Daria Rosen, and my background is 30 years in corporate IT in the IT medical department. So I will be able to share with many of you who are embarking on this journey some of the pitfalls, some of the things that I have been able to get over, and how those things actually helped later in my career.
Awesome. And I always wanted to talk to somebody in IT. I had one client in IT and she was at stress level. She was like, ah. But I always wanted to talk to someone who's gone through IT and because that is a stressful area. Um, Tell us about your experience, just starting, getting into the field.
So I will first start with in my 20s. And as you can see, that's been a while ago.
I can't tell.
I had a manager who said to me when I got my degree, I got a degree in business, and he said, just because you got a degree does not mean you'll end up with anything more than as a clerk at Mervyn. Now, for those of you in California, Mervyn's is a
Yeah.
department store like Target, a combination Target Walmart.
Okay, okay.
So my response was, that may be, but I have to try to do something else.
Right.
Fast forward, I had a vice president say to me, Daria does not have a mind of her own. She only does these things because her friends do. Now, anybody who knows me knows that that is not the case. So I took the people who were in powerful positions, and I took what they said because they didn't mean it for good, but I used
Right.
fuel to be able to do something else. So I later got a master's in business administration, and I found myself in the IT field. And I've been in IT multiple years since in leadership.
Nice, nice. So how did you respond, or how did it make you feel? Let me say, when you heard those statements and knew they were intentionally malicious. How did you take that emotionally?
I was angry. I'll be honest. I was angry because
Yeah.
my first thought was, how dare you? You don't know me. You think you do, but you don't know me.
Yeah.
And you haven't taken the time to know what my capabilities are or what my dreams are of what I wish to be.
Yeah.
So I was not happy.
Yeah. Do you think it you because you've gone through your career, do you think there was less emotional intelligence and diversity and awareness and all of that good stuff that we need less in that arena than now, or is it the same?
In some instances, it's the same.
Okay.
Back then, we didn't have where people could report it.
Right.
Somebody would do something to it. So in some ways, in some instances, it's still there. It's just underneath the covers, whereas before
Yeah.
it was out there
Yeah. Yeah. It's more subtle now.
a lot.
um yeah, a lot of it. Yeah, and I know I experienced microaggressions myself, and I was like, wait, did they try to just sub me? You have to think about it. And you're like, yeah, that wasn't even right. You know what I'm saying? Like, they'll say something that's so like undercover because you're so busy in what you're doing, and you know you be like, wait, did that was that an insult? You have to think about it, but it really was because they just say it to like undermine you. Like one thing I just can't handle is when I'm talking about something, and my voice is harder and deeper than yours. Your voice is very sweet. I know it could go a couple octaves higher, very high. I know it, but this is the way I talk on a general basis, and so do you. But the minute you go maybe one octave high, let's say you're trying to explain something, you're trying to get it to them. This is what I'm trying to explain to you, and my flexion changes. Calm down. I'm like, what? And that makes me more upset. Have you encountered that? Like someone telling you to calm down and you're just talking?
I have, but
Hmm.
I will say what I tend to do, the angrier I get, the quieter I get.
Oh, that's
So
dangerous. You're dangerous.
exactly, exactly. So if I'm talking to you like this, and then all of a sudden my
Hmm.
voice starts dropping, and you have to lean in to hear what I'm saying, you're in trouble. Because
Hmm.
so
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
to blow up. I have once,
Right.
and everybody could
Hmm.
through the door.
Yeah.
But I would say in a career that spans several decades, the fact that I have only
Yeah.
gone off once, um, but I have gotten quiet multiple times.
Right. Right. And that's also I guess a response to people, either microaggressions or things you don't agree with that are, that you're not comfortable with. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah. So how do you handle that? Having, hearing something or being part of something, and all of a sudden you find yourself quiet, not responding. Because I know I do that too. I'm like, as soon as I hear something like that, I'd be like, that doesn't. But then my face gives it away because I'm going, oh my god, I'm doing all of this. But how do you handle that? Let talk to us about how to handle things like that.
So I tend to give people probably more chances than I should. But
Hmm.
I will say, that's inappropriate, or call them out on it nicely.
Right. Right.
Because people tend to think in many instances that if you are easygoing, if you are
Right.
fairly even tempered, that you are a pushover. And that is one of the
Hmm.
things that I
Hmm.
say to people right from the beginning. Don't take
That's
me,
not true.
don't take me being easygoing as being a pushover.
Yeah.
So when
Yeah,
people
it's not true.
continue to push, then that's when you have to say something. And my husband always says, you're like a hand grenade. And you tell
Oh
people,
God.
and so he laughs and says, don't pull the pin, because
Yeah.
he's gone the opposite direction. And like I said earlier, I only blew once my
Mhm.
entire corporate career, but the rest
Yeah.
of it, I was a silent, deadly
Right.
hand.
Yeah. 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 And it takes a lot for that to happen. It takes a lot, but it also shows your ability to be in control of your own emotions. And even though you're calling them on that, it's control. And I find in the management world, they confuse kindness and pushover because they're two different things.
Yes.
Pushover, yeah, you're my yes man. You do whatever I say, whatever. But kindness is not that. I can be kind to you, but I'm not going to let you do whatever you want to do to me. I'm just not going to have it. That's not happening.
True.
Um, has there ever been an instance where you did have to say to someone in the, I guess, hierarchy of management that was inappropriate?
Oh, most definitely. Um,
Yeah.
Most definitely. I basically called someone several layers higher than I a liar. Um, but I knew, and I knew enough at that point. I had put him in a position that he was between, he either agreed with what I said in which case he was calling his boss a liar, or
Right.
with his boss, in which case he was calling me a liar. And so
Right.
basically pleaded the fifth, and I called him out on it. And I did not do that in the presence of his manager, but
Well,
one
that's not, that's good.
because, and I told him because he said, I demand your respect. I said, respect is not demanded, respect is earned. And you
Right.
lost my respect as a man. You have
Right.
my respect because of the position you were in.
Right.
But
Right.
so yes, I have said things to people higher than.
And how did you emotionally after that? How did you emotionally um, navigate through that? Because I know there's a lot of emotions going on within you. How did you navigate through the rest of
Well,
the
actually,
day?
I actually felt fine.
Yes.
It's sort of a relief when you have been able to say what it is that you need to say, whether they
Right.
agree or not.
Oh,
I
that's
said
good.
I said what I needed to say. I was done.
Yeah,
I was fine
that's
as
good.
able to share that.
That's good. That's good. Have there been instances that you had to um, possibly help another employee that was kind of getting bashed with you know um, you know things that were inappropriate?
Yes, I have people who, there have been people who reported to me. There have been people who did not report to me. And many
Hmm.
easier for the people who did not because they could come to me as a mentor and I could give them
Right.
on how to handle things. For the people who reported to me, they still would come
Hmm.
to me as a mentor, but then there's also that line of manager and staff. So
Right.
you have to walk a different line, a somewhat different line there.
Hmm. Now that you said that, I know that in my own profession, and I've had my own real estate um, staff, and when you say staff and management, do you mean what does that look like in your level, in your corporate status? How does
So
that look?
when I talk about the
If you could
staff of
explain
the
that.
team, I'm talking about the people who I write their evaluations versus
Gotcha. Okay.
those whom I do not write their evaluation.
Gotcha. All right. That makes sense.
Again,
Okay.
there's I can say the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
but you just have to be a little more careful because not only
Mm-hmm.
in giving advice and mentoring your teams is that you have the things that, oh, she's it's favoritism, she's preferring that one, or those kind of things. And I didn't want to do anything, and I don't managers, I think at heart, most people who are in management, whatever level that they don't go into it to do harm to the people who work with them.
Mm-hmm.
But the saying about hurt people hurt people. Some people haven't
Sure.
had good leadership and they don't
Right.
know how to be a good leader. Some people are micromanagers. And so, you've got to work through all those things. And that's not just in IT, that's just in management in whatever field you have.
Generally.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. How do you navigate that? How do you kind of move through that?
I would say, well, the first thing when I get a new team, I have a team meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to know what they see that is working with the team, what they see that is not working with the team. I will do that
Okay.
as a group, and then I will speak with people individually so that I can get to know them because it's not something that, unless I have been brought in, and it really hasn't been the case where something is just terribly broken and you have to fix it. Most instances, things are working. Yeah, things can be improved, but I never wanted to be one who just came in and said, you got to do it my way. You got to do it my way. That's not
Right.
building rapport. That's not building teams. That's not
Yeah.
building a partner.
That's true. It's true. I think you're building an emotional intelligence that's you're not repeating what happened to you. So emotionally, you're saying, if I get a team, I'm this. You already saw what you shouldn't do, but now you're using your emotional intelligence to empower people and to actually, get see the good in them and bring it forth. So you're doing more than what was given to you. You're actually doing more. Has there ever been a time that in the workplace that you just couldn't get to a person, you know whether they be mean or nasty or whatever it was, you just couldn't get to them, but you knew that they had potential?
Um, yes, there was a young man who, in fact, when I share the story that I actually just blew up and people can
Yeah.
they can hear me outside my closed office. Uh, I had an office so in IT, I'm actually in the medical IT side. So I
Okay.
in the IT team, I had a nursing partner who had all of the nurses, and we worked on the
Right.
IT projects in the hospitals. So we partnered our teams. So we'd have a technical person and a clinical person. And that way they
Right.
could navigate through this project. Well, one of the pairs, the gentleman would always tell, who was the clinical expert, would always tell
Mm.
the person on my team, oh, you don't have to do that, you don't have to do this, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Right. Right.
I finally called him in. At first, I spoke with my peer, his boss, and said, he's giving very, very bad advice to this young man. This was this young man's first corporate job. And
Right.
I said to the clinician, if this was your child and somebody who had been in business for a while was giving them this bad advice,
Mm-hmm.
feel about that. Well, the young man loved his clinical partner, and it was a guy, so it was two guys. And he kind of had the attitude of, oh, she's just the female. I don't have to listen to her, blah, 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 blah. So when it was time for him to leave, and you know how when you leave a job, you have your sign out interview?
Yeah.
When
Uh-huh.
his interview, I get a call from the secretary who says, oh, he left all of his stuff on my desk and said, I'm gone. I said, call him back right now. No, I called him. He didn't answer. So I said,
Right.
you call him. He answered, and I took the phone from her and I said, young man, you need to come back up here and sign out because otherwise you've not officially left the company.
Right.
Well, he decided he was only going to walk to the lobby, but he did not realize I walked down the 8th-story building, outside the into the parking garage, and I met
Oh
him,
my goodness.
and I walked him back all the way back up to the
Right.
8th floor, and we had his
Right.
exit interview. And I said to him, you are beginning your career. This is not the way you wish to begin
Yeah.
because I'm the person. Should someone call and say, would you hire him again?
Mm-hmm.
No. I said, you always want to leave your position. You don't have to like it.
Better than you think. Right.
So whether you listen to this advice or not, and you also want to be careful of who you listen to because your partner was getting you in trouble.
Yeah.
That
Mm-hmm.
happened to him. I haven't looked like on LinkedIn to see what he's doing, but he's the only one that I definitely know that I had some concerns with of how he was going to do. And that I'm like, I never did really reach him. I just didn't.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes it's not people's, it might be not their line of work, or not where they're going to be. you know yeah. So let me ask you now, out of all the cumulative information of a work history time, what can you say to someone who has really gone through this workplace trauma and it's really tearing them down? How can they start to recover from that? Out of all your experience and your know-how, you know, how can you help them?
The first thing is that you've lived in your body longer than anybody else. You know
Wow,
you.
that's good.
And even when you are hearing, you're no good at this, you're not going to amount to this, or whatever it may be, you need
Yeah,
to stop and look. Because after a while, you will believe it. I've been there where
yeah,
I doubted it.
yeah.
However, there are people in your circle, and it doesn't have to be in your work circle, who will pour into you,
Mm-hmm.
remind you of what it is you are capable of.
Mm-hmm.
Just the rebuilding, like building blocks of that confidence,
Right.
little by little, to know that, yes, you are far more worthy. You are far more capable than that person who, because they may see something in you and they be maybe
Right.
trying to hold you down.
Mm-hmm.
You have to believe in yourself. And even now, I still have doubts about certain things, but it's people who come alongside and are, like the song says, the wind beneath your wings, to hold
Yeah.
until you can walk on your own and believe in yourself and soar.
Wonderful. That's good stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff. Is there something else that you can share as far as the workplace trauma and any experience that you may have had, or maybe you know of with your in your position that you had, in the latter years?
In the latter years, I've actually had far more good in the latter years than I did at the beginning part of my career. But I know one of the most, could have been one of the most traumatizing, um, is that I made a political enemy. And I didn't realize that. My father had said, because I kept saying, well, this doesn't make sense what they're doing. And my father made a political enemy. People cannot be that petty. Well,
Mm.
my daddy was right. I
Yes, they can.
I had made a political enemy. And
Mm-hmm.
in that whole, I was selected for an honor, and then I was told that, oh, you can't do that. We're going to fire you unless you take a
Wow.
demotion. And I'm like, I'm not taking a demotion.
Oh,
You have
wow. That's good.
you have to do. Because
Right.
at the time, like, I had a home with a mortgage, and like, you do what you need to do.
Yeah, you're fighting. That's right. Stand up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I did end up getting fired. This was like a 6 month process. Um,
What?
oh yeah, it was like a 6 month process, but it was, and every few months they'd come back and say, "Well, are you going to take a demotion?" No, I am not. Um, but the funniest thing was when they called me into the office and they said, "You have to stop telling people that we're going to fire you." I said, "Are you not going to fire me effective February 1st if I don't take a demotion?" And they said, "Well, yes." I said, "Well, then I'm going to tell them." Because I didn't want,
Oh,
when people
goodness.
get fired, they're there one day and then they're gone. And I didn't
Right.
want a story made up. I was going to tell the story.
Right, right. Exactly. Exactly.
And they called me in before February and they said, we're going to have to let you go, but we're going to just pay you all the way through February because I was telling people that they were going to fire me.
Isn't it uncanny how when women like us who are leaders, they don't know how to they don't even know how to fire us. They have no idea. Like, we're such a force to be reckoned with. especially when we hold integrity, especially when we're, have emotional intelligence and know how to do our job effectively. They don't even know how to act. They really don't even know how to fire you. They don't even know what to say. They get, flustered. And it's funny to see, like, really, is it this serious? But that's when you know that they're really not, they're firing you for, frivolous, something frivolous, something really frivolous, but they don't know that they're releasing you out into this world to be this amazing
Yes.
person, even more amazing. They don't
And
know that,
after
So,
it was after that that I ended up eventually into the IT world. So they actually did me a favor.
yeah, yeah.
They did
They
me.
released the bird. They released the bird out of the cage, out of here. They let it go. I got it. They let her go. Yeah, let her go. That's really beautiful. It's not beautiful that you got fired, but it's beautiful that you learned a lesson from it. And if you could share with us, especially women, men, sometimes we get bitter after something like that, after a transition like that, like being fired. How did you transition out of that? Yeah, I got fired. Okay, now what? How did you emotionally deal with that and transition so that you could be the best you can be?
In that instance, because the process took so long, I actually was able to deal with the various emotions for the
Okay.
6 months prior. So for me, that
Yeah,
particular
six
time was like,
months.
whatever. Okay, I'm gone. But I will say,
You was already gone. You was already gone. 6 months. They didn't take you ever. I'm already gone. Yeah, I'm already gone.
and I had packed up
That's
my
good. That's really good.
I had
So you were able to, like, kind of, you were able to deal with a lot of that, right? You were able to, like, work through the emotions. And what were some of the emotions you went through?
there was a sense of loss because the I was selected to go open a new regional office, which is what made it interesting because if I were such a bad employee, I would
Right. What was
for that. So all this other
Girl, you was gonna take over the world. You tell the truth. You were gonna take over the world. You knew it. They
I
knew it. They said,
no, I was trying to escape the political enemy. That's why
Yeah, okay. Oh, okay.
that's what I was doing. So it's like,
Okay.
but again,
Okay, got you.
worked out. But so in that instance, I didn't have I had the emotions, but again, it was over the 6 months.
Hmm.
Another position where it got so bad, because as a leader, my thought always is you are there as a manager to protect your team, to be
Yeah,
the stand in so that they can do what they need to do well.
right.
And
Hmm.
that protection, even if that protection means that I'm protecting them from my boss, and I found
Right.
myself in one of those positions. Um, and it got so toxic and so bad that I'm like, I have to leave because if I don't leave, I'm going to do
Hmm.
side of my normal and I will get myself fired. So that one, when I left, yes,
Sounds familiar.
I did have somewhere else to go, but there was still
Sounds familiar.
emotional,
Uh-huh.
there's still that emotional. So your question of how do you deal with the emotions? I don't think it's something that you can just wave a wand and say, okay, you're gone and you're fine.
Yeah.
That too even takes a process. That takes process.
Yeah.
There, you also have to look and say, what could I have done differently? Because I'm not perfect.
Hmm.
And I know that I was
Yeah.
part of the problem because of how I
Right.
responded to some things. And then on the flip side is, you know what? Those other people, they're people. They've got lives
Hmm.
outside of here. They've got good days. They've got bad days. And at some point, you got to forgive them,
Hmm. Hmm.
let them go. and say, okay,
And let it go. Mhm.
let it
Yeah, let it go. Yeah, yeah. You're right. You're right. You are so right. Well, we want to thank you, Daria, for this because it's been an eye opener. And I always say to my audience, they're here for me first and then you guys second. So I thank you for that. Thank you for being here. Any last words for the audience that you can give to the audience?
So my last words will be, like I said earlier, listen to your heart, know the things that you are good at, believe in yourself, and find the people who will be the wind beneath your wings so that you can soar.
Oh, that's beautiful. Well, on that note, I am not touching it. Audience, thank you for being here. This is Edna White, your host, and my esteemed guest, Daria Rosen. We're going to say goodbye for now.